We are still following breaking news right now. There's a tank on fire at the Port of Catoosa.
Let's check in. News on 6's Cal Day is on the scene. We also have Sky News 6 in the air. Cal, give us an update before we wrap this hour.
Well, Leanne, we can see a little bit of the flames coming out here at this area. You can also see a lot of fire trucks out here. We are told by some of the deputies that are blocking off the entrances here to the Port of Catoosa that there are a couple of command posts inside by the Tulsa Fire Department. Again, at this time, we can see the white truck, which would indicate the hazmat unit of the Tulsa Fire Department. But as we've mentioned a couple times here, Rogers County Sheriff's deputies have the entrances blocked off. They are evacuating parts of the port, especially that are right in the path of the wind as the smoke would blow in the wind towards different parts of the Port of Catoosa here. We've just seen a lot of cars come out of this area. And of course, people trying to come in are being turned away. They also say that 46th Street North of the Port of Catoosa Road is very congested just because a lot of these cars that are trying to get out of here right now. Back to you.
We just want to reiterate, at this point, do we have any reports of injuries?
At this point, we have not had any information. We have reached out to Tulsa Fire Department since this is their scene, as it is the Tulsa Port of Catoosa. We're waiting to learn additional information right now.
And that we're looking right now from Sky News, Osage Sky News 6. Is that Tulsa Fire Department there, or is that property? Or do you know?
See if Dustin's there. Hey, Dustin Stone, live right now, Sky News 6. Give us an update. What do you see right now? What's happening?
That's right. Looks like a ladder truck's finally putting some water on it. This is the first time that I have seen water sprayed on the top tank. We just got here a few minutes ago, so I don't know if they've done this prior to this, but we are actually now seeing them spraying water in the direction of the tank. They are actually northeast of the tank, so I guess they're trying to help use the wind, move that water down towards the tank. But like Kyle was saying, he can actually see the flames are coming out of the tank now more than they were just a few minutes ago when we were on the air.
You're giving us a great viewpoint there, though. You can see that black smoke billowing from inside that tank, and then the water not quite to that direction. Let's see if, I don't know if Cal has any more additional information. I want to kind of keep him open, too, in case he has something to add to this.
Well, we can actually see that water now being poured on, too. We have a pretty good shot of it right now. Of course, it looks like a big ladder truck that would be a little bit adjacent to this this refinery, this area here right now. And, yeah, we can see that water flowing. Also, it looks like they're using the wind to their advantage. At this time, we're not seeing very many cars pouring out, at least from this entrance. Of course, we have mentioned that cars that are trying to come into this area are being turned around by Rogers County Sheriff's deputies. Those deputies tell us they've been called out just to help with the traffic flow here right now. But just from our vantage point, which of course we are outside of the Port of Catoosa right now, we can see that water's being poured up above, high in the air, and it looks like they're using the wind to their advantage. And it looks just to the distance, a little ways away, there's a crowd of Tulsa firefighters and fire trucks with their lights. And of course, we can see a couple lights right there on the refinery too, as probably that ladder truck is being utilized to pour water onto this area. Back to you.
All right, we just want to remind folks that we'll continue to monitor this scene. We will have updates as they become available, any new information, and certainly the very latest today at noon. But again, Tulsa Port Authority telling us some companies have been ordered to evacuate there from the Port of Catoosa due to this fire.
No injuries reported at this time. And Cal, one more thing before we go. I wanted to ask just if you could reiterate the traffic situation. Again, Rogers County deputies, the authorities are turning people away. So where are people driving up to it and being turned away? If you could kind of just tell us what's going on with the streets and roads.
Yeah, of course, as you're familiar with the Tulsa Port of Catoosa area, right on the main port road, which would be 46th Street North, and right along the highway as you would come to Catoosa. You could even go up to 193rd if you're going into Owasso through Rogers County. That's the area that's really congested. Of course, you can even see emergency vehicles right at the front of that area, and that's really what many would consider the main entrance. And that's where we saw about 20 to 30 minutes ago a lot of those cars trying to get out at that time. If you'll take a look actually at your traffic map on your phone, it'll show red in that area just because there's so many people trying to get out at this time. Of course, that was about 30 minutes ago when we passed it. So we'd like to think that a lot of those cars have been out of that area. But if you can see now, they're still pouring water on top of this. And we understand that a potential method of pouring water could be to keep the other tanks cooled down that may be next to this one that's on fire. That could be a possible method of why they're doing this. But of course, a lot lot of fire, or I should say a lot of water being poured on top of this area right now. From us, it really just almost looks like a geyser, because we can see and know that it's a straight line of water, but with all the wind, it's blowing and looks like a full geyser here right now.
Let's go ahead and go back to Dustin. I want to talk about the winds, and I know, Alan, we've been talking last night. It was just flat out windy. This morning, though, the winds have subsided a little, but still an impact.
Yeah, they're out of the northeast at anywhere between about 10 to 15 miles per hour. So it's not exceptionally strong, but it also, as Dustin can tell us, it's still got a little bit of whip to it there. So, Dustin, I know a minute ago you talked about winds in knots, and by the way, a knot is 1.15 miles times the knot itself. So you're anywhere between about 10 to maybe 15. Has it changed lately?
It has a little bit. The information I had earlier was 8 knots, and now it's saying 11. You know, when we're down here around between 50 knots and below, it's just about the same as a mile per hour. It doesn't really start getting separate until you're up around 100. So, you know, 10 miles an hour, 11 miles an hour out of the northeast at the moment is what we're getting now, Alan.
All right, Dustin, and for folks just trying to get a general idea of where this exactly is, Stephen Nearance has been working on a traffic map for us there. You can kind of see the split screen on the side of the right, and we may, just for a second, take this full screen so everybody can kind of see exactly where it's at. So Stephen's got it marked up there. You can see there is, it looks like a little bit of a traffic issue right there where that red is located.
Yeah.
So that's the issue. That's where Cal was talking just a couple of minutes ago, that authorities there are basically turning people away. And obviously, we would encourage you to stay away from this scene.
Now, this is the Port of Catoosa. If we can go back to Dustin's shot. Dustin, I don't know how wide you can get to kind of give us some perspective from the air where this particular tank is in connection with the rest of the complex itself. Yeah, that gives you a really good idea that, I mean, this is just one section of a much larger complex, and that gives us a very good angle that you can't get from on the ground.
Yeah, that's right. We're on the very north end of the port, just here along the river, and it's the first tank's just south of 266 up here. So it's on the very northeast part of the whole port, Leanne.
Yeah, and we should mention, too, you know, we're sending other crews out there. We're going to cover this from multiple angles for you. Of course, we've got you covered from the air. We're still trying to confirm who owns this tank and all of the particulars of that. We're just really telling you right now what we know. We know no injuries have been reported, but again, all of this still has to be confirmed once we talk with the firefighters and figure out, okay, whose tank is this? What's going on? When did this start? Was anybody in the vicinity of it?
Well,
and the employees just generally.
I'm wondering if the logo, I don't know if that's Ketter on that camera, if there's a way to zoom in on the...
Yeah, and this will tell us right
so
there.
There you go. Holly Energy Partners is what's on the side of the tank. Have no, you know, not making a connection there, but that particular tank is the one that's on fire. So the other thing I wanted to mention, Tulsa Fire on the scene. We are trying to get a hold of Andy Little, the public information officer, so that we could get some details on how many crew are there, certainly what potentially could be inside, how they're attacking this. I don't know if the port have their own fire department, you know, because I know like the refineries do.
The airport does.
Right.
So
yeah,
that's a good question.
They may even have other individuals or entities, agencies that can help out with that. But we do have a call into Andy Little in hopes that we'll be able to get some details. We're going to stay with this shot. I know we're into our programming, national programming, but we feel it's important to let you guys know what's happening in this part of town, especially since a lot of people are impacted. They have asked that the companies there to order evacuations just as a safety precaution. But at this time, there have been no reports of any injuries. As you can see, though, on the screen, there's quite a bit of activity there, and that white smoke billowing out of the top of that tank.
As we continue covering this, obviously, major employer, major industrial area, 2,000 acres, industrial site, Port of Catoosa, everyone knows how big that is. So we're going to stay with this for a little bit more, then we're going to continue to do break-ins. We'll give you updates as they come in. Of course, the News on 6 at noon, that's coming up in less than 2 hours, full report. We're planning to have multiple reporters out there, and hopefully the helicopter can stay up or get back up at that time.
And Cal Day is still live at the scene, and Cal was discussing a couple of minutes ago about the traffic issue in and around the Port of Catoosa. Let's check in with Cal if that's a possibility, and see if there's any additional updates there that you've got going on around the Port of Catoosa. Cal.
Yeah, we still got a couple of cars that are trickling out. You can actually see one right there. Not sure if that's an emergency personnel vehicle or not, but of course they've done a great job of getting a lot of these cars out here, and it's one of those, the people who need to be out are being escorted out. The people who need to come in cannot come in. So another thing is you're seeing a lot of heavy machinery, some big trucks that also are not able to get in, asking the deputies here, is there any entrance that is open?
Right.
And at this time,
There
there's
we go.
not. Nobody's allowed into the Port of Catoosa. So, yeah, they've got the entrances blocked off and a few people still trickling out. But again, a lot of the people have gotten out of here. Of course, we are at the Arkansas gate entrance here, so we're not at what would be considered the main entrance, which is where we saw a lot of people heading for the exits as we were coming onto the scene. But, of course, people that may have been showing up for work or trying to get in here at this Arkansas entrance, not able to get in. And, of course, a couple of cars still continuing to trickle out in different parts here. As mentioned, the Sheriff's Office, Rogers County Sheriff's Office, some deputies are out here, and they're just making sure that people are respecting the entrance closures right here at this time. They're also doing traffic control because, as mentioned, lots of cars coming out at one time, especially at that main entrance. And that main entrance, of course, gets you to Tulsa, could get you to Catoosa if you went left, could also get you up to Owasso if you went right, and into Verdigris and other parts of Rogers County. So lots of different connecting points, and it's really incredible. I mean, you think about the Tulsa Port of Catoosa, something of this magnitude, something that is so vital, not just to Tulsa and Oklahoma, but also to different shipping ports and areas of the United States. And to see so many cars and, you know, big trucks and other pieces of heavy machinery exiting the place right now, it's really just kind of telling of how serious this condition is. And we understand from some of the deputies that there could be as many as 2 different Tulsa Fire Department command posts, which would make sense because we've seen the big ladder truck pouring water in one area, and then a little ways away we can really see a sea of Tulsa fire trucks and some lights, and a couple trucks were still trickling in as of 15 minutes ago, and those are further away from the scene. But again, we have confirmed that Andy Little with the Tulsa Fire Department, the public information officer for the Tulsa Fire Department, is also here on scene, and we expect to get information as it becomes available. Again, they're set up, and it looks like as many as 2 different command posts inside that area right now. And it looks like they've stopped pouring water onto the building, but yeah, we'll send it back to you.
I just want to mention the major disruption to the Port of Catoosa,
Yes.
as you saw that congested area there in those crossroads. We'll continue to monitor this. You can always obviously follow it on newson6.com while the very latest, and as new information becomes available, we will certainly bring back into coverage.
This has been News on 6's coverage of breaking news from Catoosa.